Welcome to the Christianity in Business podcast with host Darren Shear, an initiative of the Archie W. Dunham College of Business at Houston Baptist University. This is the show that helps Christian business leaders to integrate biblical values into business. You can get more information about HBU's Center for Christianity in Business and sign up to receive free access to all issues of the Christian Business Review Journal by visiting our website at christianityinbusiness.com.
On this episode, we're joined by Jason Davis. Jason has spent his entire 2-decade career in the music industry and worked with many worldwide stars, including many our listeners will be familiar with: Boyz II Men, Sugar Ray, P. Diddy, Alabama, Lone Star, Dolly Parton, among many others. And he's an entertainment industry executive with a broad range of titles, including award-winning songwriter, award-winning author, independent record label president, executive TV producer, entertainment consultant, former senior VP of A&R for Dolly Parton's management company, CTK Management, and a serial entrepreneur. I think we got serial entrepreneur just in hearing all those titles, Jason.
Well,
and there came a point. What was that?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there came a point in his career when he just surrendered everything over to the Lord. And I'm excited to have him share with us today what his journey has been like, what he's been experiencing in the music industry from his Christian perspective. So excited to have him on. Jason, at what point did you realize God wanted to be involved in your work in the music industry?
I would say it's been a 22-year journey in the business. First 9 years before that, that I started playing music, I would say, I was an amateur, a dreamer. So this is basically 31 years of my life. I'm 45 currently. But I've been in the industry for 22 years, and it was 10 years into my journey in the industry that I found the Lord and started reading the Bible and started desiring and attempting to apply what I was reading in the Bible and learning from people around me, Christians around me, to my life. And obviously a solid part of my life. I'm married and love my wife to death, but a big part of my life is business. I am an entrepreneur and have been since the beginning. So I would say, probably within the first 3 to 6 months that I found the Lord, He really started speaking to me and working on my heart on how I did business. And I will say this too, that I think is important. I found the Lord when I was 33 years old. So there was a lot of good things I learned in my life from people. And then there was a lot of wrong behavior I learned in my life from people. Some of it was even self-created. And, it took several years into my walk with the Lord for me to learn and relearn. And, there's that saying that old habits die hard, and God has been teaching me and growing me, and I've been learning little by little over these 12 years. So it's been a long process. Obviously I'm still none of us will ever be perfect. But I would say right around 3 to 6 months after I opened the Bible for the first time, 12 years ago, God really started showing me vision and giving me clarity of how to change my thought process, my heart, and how I maneuvered and did business with people.
And there was, you really hit a rock bottom point along the way and were ready to end it all. Tell us that story and kind of what brought you to that point.
Well, the interesting thing, and I think people see this with celebrities and see this with people in pop culture. Um, I hit my rock bottom when I was at the very top of the mountain, and I had worked unbelievably hard for 10 years in the music industry, incredibly hard and sacrificed hard, and had spent crazy amounts of money over the years building, and finally got to a mountaintop that I had wanted to climb. Not to say that there was never a higher mountaintop out there, but I was pretty high up there in Los Angeles, and and I got to a point where I had accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. I had purchased everything that I had ever wanted to purchase, and got to a point where there was nothing. I don't want to say there was nothing left to achieve, but there was not a lot left to achieve. And there was nothing I could think of buying. And so I got to a place where the distractions were over.
Mm.
The goal in front of me was over. The purchase of the car that I desperately wanted, or the watch I really wanted, was over. And I had all that. And without knowing God, it's almost like he spoke to me and said, well, you got everything you wanted. How is it? How do you feel?
Mm.
And I had to probably, for the first time in my adult life, truly face myself and who I was as a person, character wise, integrity wise, um, the kind of people that were surrounding me, character wise and integrity wise, and my overall life. And it was a very empty time in my life, and it was filled with a lot of pretty intense despair. Some of it based on who I was internally as a person, character wise, and just the world that I was existing in the music industry, character wise, the people around me and people I did business with. And there was still a lot of unresolved things from my childhood, abuse that I'd gone through as a child that really, really, you know, wrecked me as a teenager, that I had not fully dealt with. And the combination of all those things led me to a place where I was like, man, if this is what making it looks like, if this is what having everything looks like, I feel like I have nothing.
Mm.
And I really felt like, in a sense, I didn't even know what love was. Like, I didn't feel like anyone around me in my life loved me. I not sure if I was able to process this, but I really had no idea how to love a person,
Mm.
or people in general. And I was like, if this is it, and I'm this miserable and this stressed out, because one thing I've learned in my life, and for me, for some reason, this was not an easy lesson, but when you work so hard to show the world that you are somebody, um, you need a lot of possessions and a lot of materialism, and you have to be up pretty high up on the mountain to really accomplish that to the level where anybody that encounters you in your life would say that you really big time made it.
Mm.
And the challenge there is keeping it and maintaining it, and that comes with a tremendous amount of stress. um, there's a saying, like, it's easy to succeed, it's harder to maintain success, which is true. But it's also comes with a tremendous amount of pressure, to be running something large, um, for what I would now view as the wrong reasons, which is to try to show people in the world that you are somebody and that you matter. And it's just the wrong place to try to find your identity.
Yeah.
So it was just very empty. And that was my rock bottom. And 12 years ago, I was in a hotel room planning on ending my life. And through a series of pretty amazing events, I ended up finding the Lord. I opened up the Bible for the first time in my life, and God, little by little, over these 12 years, has pretty 180 degrees changed my life. And probably even more important than that is changed my inner thoughts and changed my inner heart towards people. Changed the ability, to how deeply do I actually care about other people? How well do I love people? So that's
Yeah.
basics of it.
What else changed in your approach to work from the point that you really met Jesus for the first time in that pig pen of despair, thinking about like the prodigal son? You were just really at that rock bottom point. But from that point, as you really dove into the Bible and started going to the Lord about how to approach, because this is not exactly an industry known for upright living and not taking advantage of people. And so what changed in your approach to your work in this industry?
And by the way, your assessment and the typical assessment in the industry is incredibly correct. I think one core thing changed more than anything else. And before I, started seeking a relationship with God and growing in Him, my viewpoint, and I'm not saying I saw this clearly back then, but my viewpoint was the deal came before people. And I could unpack that for hours, but the deal came before people for me. And growing in the Lord, not saying that it was an easy process, not saying it didn't happen immediately. It's been a 12-year journey of seeking and desiring to be a better person and to be able to get the wisdom to love people well. How do you do that well? But it's turned and changed 180 degrees to the desire is to put people before the deal always.
But before you move on to that, when you say that you were putting the deal before the person or the deal before people, what did that look like? I mean, if you could take us to maybe a point kind of before Christ or even after, when you kind of got your priorities out of whack and maybe approached a particular person in a as a number, as a transaction, like what did that look like?
Great question. Two main things. And the both of them have a core understanding and belief and wisdom that I did not have before. So before the Lord, and I could have never articulated this back then. I was just operating in life and doing what I did. I didn't have the depth of ability to think through what I was doing back then. But basically, I believed back then, without ever being able to express it, because I did not believe in God back then, that I was in charge of having to go out into the world and make a living. And the only way that I could make a living is to convince human beings to do business with me. And because that's how whether you're selling a candle to somebody or you're in the music industry, if you're selling a candle, you need a human being to actually give you money for your candle. Mm-hmm. So for me, I really, and I didn't understand this back then, but I did not, I believed that I had to convince that person to, work with me, to do business with me. And that person sometimes was a major company. That that worked for a major company. So whether it was an individual person or a corporation, I was still dealing with people. And I believed that my living, my income came from people, and that I had to convince people to provide my living for me. And that's real murky waters, because that means you're walking into meetings, you're walking into company doors, you're walking into big buildings, you're sitting down with individuals, and people can't matter as deeply as they do, or even close to it as they do to God, to you, if you're constantly looking for something from people. And so when I found God in the first 6 months to a year, and it was slow learning. It wasn't like I just got this from day one and I was flipped and different and changed. And it's been this growth process of me making some mistakes along the way and learning. But what changed was I now knew the way God brings rain down onto the flowers and feeds them. The flowers don't have to strive. They don't have to go out into the world and beg and plead and fight and claw. God provides. And so what I felt God was leading me to and showing me, and I now know, is, Jason, I'm not calling you to get people to do business with you. I'm calling you to take the gifts I've given you, the wisdom I've given you, the experience and the relationships that I've given you. And I am calling you to love people. From the depths of your heart, love people. And I, your God, the way I bring rain down on flowers, I will cause the people that are supposed to do business with you, the companies that are supposed to do business with you, I will cause them to entrust you, to open their hearts to you, and cause them to do business with you. So I, Jason, provide your income, not people. So you are now freed up to just trust me that I will provide. And I want you to learn and rely on me and surround yourself with good people that challenge you. And I want you to learn how to be freed up and just love people and let me provide your income. So the two ways that worked was, before I knew the Lord, when I was looking at a big company like Sony Music or Universal Music or Warner Brothers, I used to actually not even refer to the people. I would just be like, that building, like I will knock down that building for business. Like I'm going to get inside of that building. I'm going to cause that company name, like dehumanizing it. I am going to get that company to open up their bank vault. I'm going to get that company to do a business deal. I'm going to get that company to give this artist $1 million. Well, Jason, do you care if the company loses $1 million? Nah, the company will be fine. So now, after the Lord, I don't look at a company name. I don't look at a big building. I walk into Capitol Records. I walk into Sony Music. I walk into Atlantic Records. I don't even see a company name. I see people and individuals inside of the building who have children and wives and husbands. They have house payments. They have mortgage. They have car payments. How I do business with them is vital to them being able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
So it's no longer about me convincing this company name to open up the bank vault. It's about me creating something and working as hard as possible to create something in excellence enough that I truly know in the depths of my heart, from all of my experience, that this is something that will actually benefit this company. And the person that I'm sitting with, this project, like this artist, they're going to make you look good. And if I don't believe that, I don't walk through the door. So when it comes to the singer, when it comes to an artist I work with, I used to look at artists like, hey, this artist could help me reach my financial goals this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I get them a record deal or we pop a big hit song or whatever it was, I have this financial goal to keep the empire going, and this person's going to help me achieve my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like I'm attempting and desiring and looking inside of the person's body, into their spirit, into their soul, and trying to say, God, help me love this singer like with a father's heart.
Mm.
Help me care about every aspect of this person's life. Please, God, help me serve this person, open up doors for this person, protect this person. Don't have me make a move unless it's the right timing, God. Like, I want to love people. And I've learned that God does the rest. It says in the Bible that his yoke is easy. A yoke is what you would put on huge oxen in the field, farming in the field, and the big plows with oxen.
Mm-hmm.
And the yoke is what you would use to direct the oxen in the field. And God is saying to us, if you put me on, I'm going to guide you. And my yoke is easy. You're not going to be striving for things. The right doors are going to open, and I will guide you to those doors. And I've seen it over these 12 years, over and over again. And I would also say that I went from somebody who strived a lot and viewed everything as like, I'm going to push that door open. I'm going to break that door open, to God, please open the door and lead me to the right door. And he does every time.
Yeah. Jason, some of the the language that you were using there is really the language of discipleship, which is, I've come to the conclusion that's what we're supposed to be doing in business, is making disciples. Whether you're a pastor of a church on Sunday morning, or you're working in the music industry or wherever, we're called to make disciples. And so as you're talking about how you really aim to serve those clients and want what's best for them, is there a moment that comes to mind when you realized God was actually using you to disciple one of your artists, the follower of Christ?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's one, and there's been a lot of these moments, but there's one moment that's very sweet for me. Many sweet moments, but there's one that comes to my mind. There was a band I was working with. They were kind of an alternative rock band, and 4 guys in the band. Really cool band, really great songs. And the lead singer was really the leader of the band, and him and I used to talk a lot. I was the manager, and there was one, and this is obviously after I knew the Lord, and this was not a Christian band. This was an alternative band, mainstream rock band. And I'm on the phone one night with the lead singer, and we just have this normal talk. And all of a sudden, and stuff like this never happened in the past, because people, probably sense deep down inside, whether they knew it or not, that I didn't deeply, deeply, deeply care about them. So I'm on the phone with him, and he starts telling me that he has been cutting himself for years. And we talked about it for a little while, and I just listened, and he didn't really give me any specifics, but and to be open, I had not, and this is going back probably about 11, 12 years ago. I know this sounds probably silly to some people out there, but I had never heard or known that anybody did that to themselves. I know that that's a common thing.
Yeah.
But I just had never heard of that before. I didn't know that people did that. And so a lot of what I was asking him is about, like, well, why do you do that? And he would explain that it relieves pain for him. And so I hung up the phone with him that night. And the second I hung up the phone, I heard God speak to me in my head, and I heard, he's been molested.
Hmm.
Call him back and tell him that I told you that he's been molested. And this guy wasn't even a Christian.
Yeah.
And so I called back, and I was pretty nervous to call him back because, for you to call from a guy to a guy and be like, hey, were you ever molested? Like,
Mhm.
it's just a weird question. So I called him up. I was a little nervous. I did a lot of prefacing, like, hey man, like, this is probably gonna be the craziest question you've ever heard. I'm really sorry to ask you this question. But when we hung up, I felt like the Lord told me that you were molested.
Mm.
And there was dead silence on the phone
Wow.
for 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, I heard a very timid voice say, I've never told anyone in my life about that.
Mm.
I've never even told my own parents about that. And I was like, internally, I was like, wow. And I just felt led. I said, do you mind if I pray for you? Because it's demonic.
Mm.
The person that did that to you was led demonically to do that to you. And it opened up a door. And Satan is trying to use you cutting yourself as a dress rehearsal to warm you up to the idea of just doing it.
Mm.
And slitting your wrists and killing yourself. Like, that's why he's got you with a razor blade in your hand. He's trying to get you comfortable. And so he's like, sure. Because he was so blown away that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
He said yes. And I started praying. And I literally felt like I had my eyes closed, and I felt like I was like in heaven praying for him.
Wow.
It was like outer worldly. I've probably never felt that way since, the way I felt it that night. And when I was done praying, he said to me, he goes, I feel like I've just been released.
Mm. Wow.
And interestingly, shortly after that, the band imploded. The 4 guys in the band got into an argument. They got into a fight. The band imploded and broke up. I just lost touch with them. 3 years later, out of nowhere, I get a letter in the mail to my office saying that he never picked up a razor blade again.
Wow.
And he had been cutting himself for about 5 years before that. So,
Jason, that's one of the most powerful stories that I've ever heard from a guest on this show, or virtually any other show I've heard of. That's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's obviously one of the more memorable experiences, but these opportunities to reach out to hurting people in the workplace are around us every day if we'll just really open our eyes up and take that step of obedience. I mean, when God tells you something that you're like, God, I don't think I could actually say that to my coworker or to whoever it is that's in your chain of command in your company. Just step out of faith and do it. So powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just tell you one, and this I'll make super quick. But there's an artist that got signed to a record deal, I don't know, probably a year ago that I developed and I'm managing now. She's not a Christian artist. She's a pop alternative artist, a mainstream artist. And she doesn't know God. She doesn't believe in God. And so she had to come into Nashville to do some songwriting and production and stuff. And she was staying at her house, and she was staying in our upstairs, one of our upstairs bedrooms, and so we were just one night talking to her, my wife and I, in the kitchen, and just the Lord, just was just putting on me just to talk to her and just in a deeper way than normal. And I was just talking to her about her life, and I started talking to her about the Lord, and this is a girl that doesn't believe in God, and she was like crying, like, I don't want to say hysterically, but she was crying, real crying in our kitchen. And she's like, can you show me like where that is? And so I opened up a Bible and I started showing her some different things. And, at the end of the night, she's just like, thank you. Like, thank you so much. Like, and this is not because I'm doing business with her or I developed her. I mean, obviously there's a trust there. She knows I deeply care about her as a person, but that's one other recent example.
Wow. You ever get the sense, Jason, that you're really like you're really a pastor for these artists?
When I'm working with a Christian artist, I view myself as an executive pastor to a pastor's ministry.
Why?
I view the lead singer. I view the lead singer almost like as the pastor.
Okay.
And I'm serving their ministry, because a manager is very business oriented.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when it comes to music artists, I feel like I have almost like an executive pastor's heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm probably not the one speaking on stage, but I'm the one, breaking bread with people and having conversations with people and loving people. But yes, I do view my desire to have a pastor's heart towards anybody I encounter in my life. And some days I do it better than others. But that is the desire.
Yeah. For those like me who are curious about what is it like for a Christian in the music industry right now? I mean, it seems like so many of the great singers grew up in church singing Christian songs. I mean, I was actually pumping gas last night and heard, there's like Christmas songs on the radio and they're singing Go Tell It on the Mountain that Jesus Christ is Lord. And, this is like a mainstream radio station playing this, but I mean, do you feel like Christians are largely marginalized in the music industry?
I don't really think so. I think when it comes to the mainstream market, pop, country, rock, alternative, the Latin market, which and I've worked in all those over the years, and I still work in all those markets. And I get a lot of people, in Los Angeles, that will come visit me in Nashville, or I'm usually making a few trips a year to Los Angeles to do business. I'm constantly talking to people in Los Angeles still, but I just get a lot of questions, like people ask me questions about faith. People ask me questions about, God. People ask me questions about the devil. I just get a lot of people asking me questions. And I think there is this, from some of the aspiring artists I meet that don't know the industry, like sometimes, there's this uncertainty of like, wait, you do Christian music too? Like, you don't want me to be a Christian artist, right? Like, I don't want to be a Christian artist. And it's like, almost like I don't want to say I laugh a little bit inside, but it's just the naiveness. Like, people just don't understand that, like, it actually means, all it translates to is I'm probably going to care about you more than probably anybody else you're going to meet in Los Angeles. You're probably going to be protected and cared about a whole lot more, especially, if you're a younger, inexperienced artist. But I think, when it comes to musically, I think, we're in a world today where the genres are very blurred. I think iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music, the streaming platforms, are really, yes, there's still separation of genres on the platform, but I think, when you're looking at what's currently hot, or the best of the week, or there's so many different playlists on Spotify or Apple that are just mixed. You know, it's like one thing's a country singer, one next thing is Billie Eilish, the next thing is a Christian artist, the next thing is a rapper. It's really blended.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just on the Country Music Awards, you had, you know, Zach Williams and For King Country, who are Christian artists, on the Country Music Awards stage singing with Dolly Parton. And, you know, you just had Kanye West put out a Christian record. And it was, you know, the #1 album on every single platform you could find for weeks across the entire country. And it's in a massively overtly Christian album from Kanye West. And then you have Tori Kelly, you know, who is a pop singer. And she put out a gospel record last year, which was Grammy nominated gospel record. And then she just went back and started putting out, you know, more mainstream songs again. So I think people in the industry are just looking for complete and utter greatness. They don't care if most people in mainstream music, Los Angeles, New York, they could care less what you believe in. Just play me a great song, play me a great singer. And so, and that's what, you know, that's what my experience is, you know, how do you make a great product? You know, whether it's an alternative artist, a rock artist, a Spanish artist, a rapper. I've worked with all genres. So the genre of music doesn't matter to me. What matters is this artist being served well? Are they being loved well? And are they being fought for?
Wow. Beautiful. Well said, Jason. What's the best place for people to learn more about you and just get connected? I mean, I'm curious, like from your standpoint, why do you do an interview like this?
I think I have, you know, over the few decades I've been doing this, I've just, whether it was stuff in the past that I made mistakes on or just current mistakes I see people in the industry making towards, you know, how they're handling people or doing business. I have a big heart to try to give back any wisdom or knowledge I've learned, you know, whether it's mistakes I made over the years or it's just a whole bunch of mistakes I see a whole slew of people out there making in the industry currently. There's not a lot of people in business in general, especially entrepreneurship type business. There's not a lot of people out there, but definitely not a lot of people in the music industry where their yes means yes and their no means no, where you could actually shake their hand on something, where money, you know, doesn't come first to them. So I have a, you know, I feel like if you gain wisdom and knowledge and experience throughout your life and you don't look for avenues to try to pass it on to somebody else, you know, if I could help one person listening avoid any mistake I made in the past or any heartbreak I have experienced in the past, whether that was somebody that did something to me in the industry or something I did to somebody, whatever it is, I just want to help people avoid missteps in their life and help people, you know, love people better and serve people better. And so that's why I agreed to come on.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom. What would be, just real quick, two songs or two albums from your clients that you're serving that our listeners that we ought to go download like right away?
I would say, you know, first with our company, Radar Label Group in Los Angeles. I have two partners in Los Angeles. We have a band we've worked with for years called the Neon Trees. So they just put out a new single. And then I would also say, in the Christian world, my artist, Austin French, has been killing it the last couple of years. And he's working on a new single right now that will be coming out probably in March or April. That is pretty phenomenal. So that's it. Those are, you know, one thing to check out, one thing to watch for.
Excellent. Well, we'll have the links to your labels there and your agency on the show notes page. People can go and see who else you're working with. Definitely some pretty big names on there and a lot of up and comers as well. So Jason, we do thank you so much for being so generous with your time. No, you're not trying to, promote a book or a course or, anything like that. Just coming on here just to share, the lessons learned from your journey. We're certainly better for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if so, we would greatly appreciate it if you would leave us a quick rating and review for the Christianity in Business podcast on iTunes. You can get more information about HBU Center for Christianity in Business at christianityinbusiness.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to keep integrating biblical values into your business.